What is going on YouTube? It is your boy MrBaboon back with a reaction video. This time we have a soldier who defeated 32 Germans without bullets. We're gonna react to it and see what it's about. I don't think I ever heard about this, so we're gonna react to it and learn about it. It's gonna be fun. So if you guys are excited, check the description. I will have the video and the channel link down below in the description if you guys want to check it out. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications. And let's get ahead and get into it, I think. You know what I mean? I ain't trying to waste anyone's time. Let's get to it, shall we? Let's get to it. Bum ba ba da da do do. Da 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 dun. Okay, real fast, let me make sure this is working. Yeah, that's working. But, you know, I don't know why this is it.
Henry Johnson, a Harlem hellfighter. On April 8, 1918, the 369th U.S. Infantry Regiment fought on the French front lines, remaining there for 191 days, longer than any other American unit across the whole of World War I. They were given the nickname the Harlem Hellfighters by enemy German soldiers, with one prisoner having said his German friends were more hesitant to attack, quote, colored U.S. troops. One of those hellfighters was Private William Henry Johnson, known just as Henry Johnson. Born in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Johnson had a variety of jobs before enlisting, including chauffeur, soda mixer, and laborer. He enlisted in the U.S. Army in June of 1917 at approximately 25 years old. His actions during the war would lead him to becoming one of the most famous of all World War I African-American soldiers. The story of his heroism is better known today, but for all his bravery, Henry Johnson did not receive the recognition he should have. This is his story. In 1914, when World War I started, racial laws and tensions were still very much prominent in American society. Black people, or African Americans, were marginalized, segregated, and treated like second-class citizens across society. However, they were deemed good enough to die for America, and African Americans themselves jumped at the chance to prove their worth, believing it would lead to an overall reduction in racial bias in American society. Thus, in 1916, Johnson joined the all-black 15th New York Infantry and formally began training at Lafayette Hall. A year later, when America entered the Great War, the unit was the first in New York to be recruited to full strength due to an outpouring of African American volunteers. But white Americans still were unwilling to fight alongside their African American counterparts. Because of this, the American Expeditionary Forces commander, General John J. Pershing, instead assigned Johnson and the 15th New York away from American troops. In November 1917, Johnson's unit was sent to France, where they were expected to help serve the French Army's 16th Division. The French lacked the racial segregation and bias that was prevalent in American society, and although there were still racial issues in Europe, they happily welcomed the infantry with the title of the 369th U.S. Infantry Regiment and fought alongside them without the same prejudice. On May 15th of 1918, Henry Johnson was guarding a sentry.
That's dope of them to do that. If only our troops would have, done that. But nah. They did it because they're stupid. And there's a lot of shit that pisses me off when they do that, but it's so stupid. Like, I mean, we're all human beings. You know what I mean? We all bleed red. Like, we all use oxygen. I don't get racism and everything. I think it's just pointless and everything. I really do.
Post from midnight to 4 a.m. alongside fellow soldier Needham Roberts. Johnson, already convinced that the German snipers who had been shooting at them earlier were still around, told his sergeant they should send better men who knew their rifles to guard the outpost. His request was laughed off, but Johnson was soon proven right.
Oh, he was soon proven right. What happened? Something happened then, huh?
At around 1 a.m., a sniper fired from the darkness, missing the men. When reported to Sergeant Roy Thompson, all Johnson got in response was a laugh and the comment, "You scared?" Johnson, being brave beyond his years, told his sergeant he didn't fear the snipers, only wanted to warn him of their presence and the potential for an attack. Despite being ignored, Henry Johnson spent the hour laying out precautions that later that night saved his life. Taking a box of approximately 30 grenades, he began laying them out in lines, ensuring easy access should he need them. And he definitely did need them. Less than an hour later, at what Johnson estimates as 2 a.m., he heard the telltale sound of wires being cut and immediately knew a German attack was imminent. Straight away, he tells his comrade Needham to run and tell the lieutenant, before throwing his first grenade at where he thought the German soldiers were about to attack from. Somewhere in the confusion, Needham was badly wounded in the hip and arm by a German grenade. Henry told his companion to keep his nerve before instructing him to lie in the trench and hand Johnson grenades so that he could keep the German soldiers at bay. From his position, Johnson continued to lob grenades at the emerging German soldiers, taking plenty of hits in return. As he fought, he was shot at the whole time, taking hits in the head, lip, hand, side, and at some point, smashing his foot so badly that after the war was over, it required a silver plate to help fix it. But bullets, injuries, and an unknown number of enemy soldiers wasn't enough to stop Johnson. Surrounded by soldiers, Johnson kept throwing grenades until eventually he had none left. Undeterred, he immediately began shooting his rifle instead, which worked for a while until Johnson tried to put an American cartridge clip in his French-assigned rifle, causing it to jam. It's at this point that most people would think they were done for, but there was a fighting spirit in Johnson, determined to live. Swinging with wild abandon, he began using his rifle as a club instead, jumping into the fray and hitting German soldiers wherever he could reach as they helplessly tried to rush the one-man machine. Not content with his club, Johnson then reached for his bolo knife and started slashing through the air, later saying, "Each slash meant something, believe me." The remarkably modest Johnson later reported there wasn't much to it, but it's unlikely many people could hold off a whole swarm of German soldiers the way he managed. He was still fighting an hour later when help arrived, beating the German soldiers back. The next morning, the true extent of what Johnson had done was revealed. The American regiment found 4 dead German soldiers and evidence of somewhere between 12 and 32 more injured or dead. There were 38 bombs found among dropped bayonets, rifles, and revolvers. "Just fought for my life. A rabbit would have done that," was all the modest Johnson said on the whole attack later. The Germans, on the other hand, would have been forgiven for thinking they were fighting a regiment, not just one incredibly brave man who was determined not to die.
Crazy.
It didn't take long for stories of the incredible exploits of Needham and Johnson to make it home to America, earning Johnson the nickname, the Black Death. In France, Johnson became the recipient of the country's military's highest award, the Croix de Guerre. He was the first American to do so. Tragically, America itself was not so kind. Despite what Johnson had done and the way the papers lauded him, he didn't receive the recognition he deserved. When news of his exploits were reported back home in the States, it was by white journalists who, in the same breath as calling him and Needham first-class American heroes, would also refer to African people as, quote, savages or demoniac. Famously, the Battle of Henry Johnson, as it was called, was first reported by Irvin S. Cobb of the Sunday Evening Post, who praised Johnson all while filing his report with racial stereotypes of African Americans. The Black American press, however, immediately lifted up and exalted its 2 heroes of the war. Their papers recognized Johnson and Needham as symbols of racial bravery, manhood.
Like, if he didn't do that, there's a chance that, I mean, they would have been taken as prisoners, or, you know what I mean? There's a chance for a lot of things that could have happened if he didn't do all that. Bro, that dude's a hero.
And sacrifice, positioning them as men of extreme valor. On July
See, not all heroes wear capes.
July 5th, the New York 15th Women's Auxiliary honored Henry Johnson's wife and the parents of Needham Roberts, organizing a ceremony at Harlem Casino that over 2,000 people attended. Praise for their actions was bestowed by President Wilson, the governors of New York and New Jersey, and the Secretary of War. For one glorious moment, African Americans thought this could be the turning point of racial relations in the U.S. But it was not to be. By the end of the war, a mere few months later, anti-African American sentiment was at an all-time high. Johnson returned home a severely wounded, disabled soldier. He seemingly received no acknowledgement for his acts of bravery and self-sacrifice and was discharged from the military due to his extensive injuries. Although it's unclear whether or not he received a disability pension, it's unquestionable his time in the war affected him. Unable to hold down a job due to his injuries, he soon turned to drink. Not long later, his wife left him, taking their 3 sons with her. And tragically, Johnson died not long later in 1929 from myocarditis, a result of his injuries during the war. During his lifetime, America failed to acknowledge his actions.
R.I.P. to this man, bro. He didn't deserve none of that shit. R.I.P.
Due to the color of his skin, and it took decades for them to hold themselves accountable and posthumously rewarded Johnson for his actions. In 1996, the now deceased Johnson received the Purple Heart, the Distinguished Service Cross in 2002, and the Medal of Honor in 2015. Though an attempt to right the wrongs of history is always welcome, to this day Johnson remains a relative unknown.
I'll let you guys get a second to read this. June 2nd, 2015. Like, bro.
Instead of the household name he should be. All because he was a black man in a racially prejudiced America.
Bro, he deserved 100% better. 100% better than what he got. Like, nah, that's fucked on how they treated him and shit. That is fucked. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are down below in the comments. I will see you guys. We chalked up down below in the comments. Okay, you guys stay safe. Positivity is key. Motivation is key. Happiness is key. I'll see you guys in the next video. You guys stay safe. Watch out for each other. You guys stay safe. I'll see you guys in the next one.